starting a new job and you want to know how to introduce yourself at a new job in a way that's captivating and impressive, of course. Great news, because that's exactly what we're covering today. In this video, I am spilling the tea on the 3 elements that every powerful introduction includes, the thing you absolutely must do afterwards, and I'm going to sneak in a few prep tips, especially for you introverts out there. If that all sounds good, tap that like button and let's jump straight into it. Before we can really get into what a great introduction looks like, we need to know what a bad introduction looks like.
Sup, I'm Chad.
While Chad's introduction was informal and we can say friendly, it only included this first element of a powerful introduction at work: your name. Obviously, it would be super awkward to introduce yourself without saying your name. When you are introducing yourself at work, I do suggest, even though it feels kind of formal, to use your full name. Now, you don't have to go full name. I'm John James Preston Sir Lovely III. Just your first and last name are going to do the trick. This is helpful, I feel like, especially for people who maybe have a hard time with names, because it gives them 2 options to stick. And when you think about it, people who introduce themselves using both their first and their last name when they're making an introduction at work are generally people of importance. And you want to convey that you are important. With that squared away, you are going to go into the second element of a powerful introduction at work, and that is to give context. Most frequently, this includes telling someone your job title, because that's going to let people know what you're doing there in the first place. Then, depending on the situation and the context in which you are introducing yourself to someone at work, you might give a little bit more info. For example, when you're casually bumping into someone in the coffee room, when you're working on site, that's probably where you're going to leave it. But in several situations, such as introducing yourself in a meeting, you are going to give a little bit more context in most cases. For example, if you're a boss asked to introduce yourself to the team at your first full team meeting, you aren't just going to say, "Hi, I'm Jennifer and I'm the new account executive." Same goes for things like introductory emails. In these instances, you want to give more context, such as where you are joining from, what project you joined to work on, what your area of expertise is, or whose team you are on. This helps your new coworker understand who you are, why you're there, and why you are going to be so much fun to work with. And in this element, I also think it's very important to include a little bit of excitement. I mean, you accepted this new job. You're probably happy to be there. Don't be afraid to share it. And one of the ways that you can actually convey excitement as well as make a great first impression on your new coworker or coworkers is to sprinkle in a few likability boosters. There are several likability boosters that you can intertwine into your introduction at work. First and foremost, the obvious one: smile. Smiling makes you come across as friendly, as warm, and it's going to help you build rapport with your new coworkers. Drawing from that, making eye contact. In person, this doesn't have to be awkward where you're staring into someone's eyeballs for an uncomfortable period of time, but holding eye contact is really important. I know many of us, especially right now, are making our first introductions to a new team at work online. In this case, you can't actually look them in the eye. What you can do instead is simulate that by staring into your webcam. I know it feels weird, but it's gonna help them connect with you on their side of the Zoom. The next likability booster is going to have some side benefit, and that is repeating people's names as they introduce themselves back to you. First, for entirely practical purposes, it's going to help you remember their name. And if you're like me and you struggle with names, this can be very helpful. It also clears up any mishearings or misunderstandings. I know it's easier when you're making that introduction in an online environment, like on Slack, in email, or in a Zoom, but in the real world, sometimes we mishear things. Repeating their name when they make the introduction and saying, "It's so nice to meet you, Emma," also has the added benefit of working in their favorite word in the English language, their name. Using someone's name makes them pay more attention and it helps them feel acknowledged and seen. So when they introduce themselves, make sure that you repeat their name and, if you can, sprinkle it into the subsequent conversation. Also, when you're joining a new team, another great thing to do that is going to boost your likability and help you orient yourself is going to be asking questions. Not only are you the new kid on the team who doesn't know what they're doing yet, it gives the person that you're introducing yourself to at work the opportunity to help. And most people love helping. The questions that you ask can be fairly generic. What does your team do? How do we interact with each other? Or it might be very precise. Where do I find my HR forms? When someone helps you, you're giving them the opportunity to flex their expertise and to help orient you, and in some level to be your mentor, at least in that moment of time. It's going to make them feel good, which is going to make them feel good about you. And most importantly, when you're making that introduction, you want to convey as much confidence as possible. Not arrogance, confidence. I know when you're on a new team and you're making your introductions to your new team members, this might be a little bit easier said than done. If you haven't already, I do have a video with instant confidence boosters. Go and check that one out if you're feeling a little bit nervous about introducing yourself to your new team at work. Now, what this all might sound like put together: hi, I'm Jennifer Brick, the new customer success manager. When Janet told me about all the great work that the team has been doing and the company's dedication to enhancing the customer journey, I knew I had to jump at the chance to join. Now, making that first introduction and really making a great first impression with your new coworkers is really important, but it doesn't stop there. Especially when you're brand new at a company and you're making these introductions to your new team at your company, the real key is going to be keeping that conversation going to establish a positive and productive working relationship. This is why I suggest within 24 hours of meeting a new person at work, you send a simple follow-up. It can be a Slack, it can be an email, it can be a LinkedIn connection. It can be 2 of 3, because I always suggest a LinkedIn connection. This is going to make the person feel appreciated, and it's going to keep that communication channel open. Remember that the people that you're introducing yourself to at your new company, as you are meeting them, you are, getting your bearings and stuff, but they are in full swing and they have a lot going on, so it can be easy for them to not forget that you're there, but getting to know you isn't going to necessarily be the most important thing on their plate. This gives you the opportunity to make them feel appreciated and acknowledged, and it also opens up threads that you can follow up on as you start to get to know your coworkers more. Now, I know a lot of you that are going to be watching this to learn how to introduce yourself at a new job are watching because you have a brand new job and you might be dealing with first day nerves. So I have a couple of additional suggestions for you if you're nervous about making those introductions and not knowing who anyone is, especially if you're an introvert like me. If you struggle with names or you're just nervous about remembering them all and knowing who people are, you can do a little bit of advanced research. Before you begin, you can actually start by checking out who works there using LinkedIn. I personally find this very helpful because it gets me familiar with faces as well as names, and this can also give you something to chat about. I would focus on the people that you are going to be working directly with, and if there's any teams that you know you are going to be working in parallel with, to also get familiar with those people. And when you're working on site in an office, this can also be very helpful to check out the people that are at your location if you're working at a big company with more than one location. Once you're actually in the company, make sure and ask for a copy of the org chart. Not all companies have them, but they are very helpful for understanding the lay of the land and helping to find people that you want to get to know. And it doesn't necessarily have to just be only people that you're going to be working with directly. It is great to build relationships across the organization. Now, the most important thing when you're starting your new job and you're making your introductions to coworkers is to be interested. This is a principle from How to Win Friends and Influence People, and it is absolutely true. When you are interested in people and you let them talk about themselves, they are going to be absolutely captivated by you. Now you know how to introduce yourself at your first job. It is time for you to prepare to slay your first week. I want you to go and check out this video right now where I'm going to break down the things that you need to do in your first week to stage yourself for success. But before you go, if this helped you prepare to make your introductions at work, make sure and give it a thumbs up. It really helps my channel and it makes you my favorite person. If you aren't already one of my career besties, consider subscribing. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.